Hi, I decided I was going to show how I make homemade mashed potatoes. I make them quite often, at least once a week, sometimes twice. I have been making real mashed potatoes for 32 years that we've been married. My husband doesn't care for instant mashed potatoes, and I really don't either. I mean, I can eat them. And I don't know, the real ones are so much better and they're pretty easy to make. And I thought, well, maybe somebody doesn't make real mashed potatoes might want to know how to do it. And also my kids might want to know for sure, although they've probably seen me 100 times. And maybe one day they'd like to see how I did it, because I'm usually the one that makes them for like Thanksgiving or what have you. I took a bag of potatoes. I filmed this and I didn't realize my camera wasn't on. So I took a 5-pound bag of potatoes and I dumped them in my sink, and I laid the bag over here because that's where I put my potato peels at. I was just getting ready to show that if you use this, in my opinion, everybody does stuff different. In my opinion, if you're using this to peel your potatoes, it's probably the reason you don't make them very often, because this is really hard and slow and time consuming, and it makes a horrible mess with the little potato peelings. This is what you need: a good sharp paring knife. And I love Rada knives. They are my favorite knives. I use them for everything. And I can peel potatoes 10 times faster with that than I do these. I'll just peel a couple to show you. I won't make you go through the whole thing, but in case they didn't realize, I literally just take and start peeling my potatoes, and I just peel them all the way around, and then I just peel off the side, and it goes really quick. It's a lot faster. It might take off a little bit more potato than those potato peelers, but I've done it this way my whole life. My mom did it this way her whole life. And I just truly believe it's easier. So I'm just going to rinse the potato off, and I usually cut it in half, and then I'm just going to kind of cut it in big chunks and put it into my cooker. So then I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to peel this potato, and I go all the way around, and then I do the sides, and then I just do the other side. And it is so quick. And obviously, if you got a bad spot, cut it out. I see another little tiny place on that one in there. So I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. I'm gonna cut it. If it's a bigger potato, sometimes I cut it in 4s, and then I cut it in just bigger chunks and put it in my pan. I'll do one more, and I won't bore you with the rest until I get done. But just in case somebody was asking, it does take a sharp knife. If you have a dull knife, it will not peel your potatoes. You have to have a sharp knife. Obviously, be careful not to cut your fingers, but you have to have a sharp knife. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna cut them and put them in here. So see, I've got some of it started in here. I'm gonna finish peeling those, and then I will be back. I'm gonna put them on the stove. I'm gonna fill it up the rest of the way with water, and I'm gonna put them on the stove to boil, and I go in and put salt in them too when I put them on the stove. Okay, I finished peeling my potatoes. I'm not making a whole lot because I don't have to make a whole lot right now. But I'm just gonna finish filling my pan up with water. Not my pan up. I'm just gonna cover my potatoes up with the water. You can see over here is all my filling sitting here. See here, I'm just gonna make sure my potatoes are covered up. I'm gonna go over and put them on the stove, and I'll put a lid on them. With a little bit of ventilation, so I think it helps it cook a little faster or start boiling a little faster. And then I'm gonna put them on the stove to boil, and I'll just leave them boiling until I can put a fork in them and they come out tender, or you can kind of smash them up against the side. I'll try to show you that on the video when I go to do that. Hey, so I'm here because you can see right here in the bottom of my screen that, sorry, my oven timer went off because my chicken casserole is almost done. You can see my potatoes have been boiling. I literally, I can put my fork in them and they're real tender, and then you could also just take and push them up against the side and you can tell that they're ready to mash. So I'm gonna turn off the heat. Actually, I'm gonna turn it to low for a minute because I was gonna tell you a couple of things. So I'm gonna take this handy dandy pot strainer, and I'm gonna drain the potatoes in the sink in just a second. But my few secrets to making, it's not a secret, it's just what I do, I guess, when making mashed potatoes, is you need to drain your potatoes. If you drain them in a different container, like in a colander, you need to put them right back in your hot cooker. Don't mash your potatoes in a different, like a cold pan that you didn't have on the stove, because they mash so much better if you mash them in your hot cooker that you boiled them in. Also, you have to use whole milk or canned, we call it canned cream, but it says evaporated milk on the can. You need to use whole milk or canned cream to mash your potatoes, or they won't turn out good. And you have to use butter or margarine in them, and salt and pepper. That's how I make them, and I think that they turn out the best that way. Obviously, everybody's different. I'm telling you what I do. If you do something different and you really love your mashed potatoes, please let me know, because I'd be interested to know. I'm gonna drain these real quick, and I'm gonna come back and we'll get ready to mash them. Okay, I've got them all drained here. I'm gonna put them over here on this pot holder on my counter, and I'm literally gonna take a stick of butter, and I've already put some salt in them. I might have to salt them a little bit more when I taste them, but I won't know until I get done. But I'm gonna put some pepper in them, which we like pepper. If you don't like pepper, obviously you don't have to use pepper. Same with salt. And then I'm gonna take my vitamin D milk, and I'm just gonna pour a little bit at a time in there until I get it to where I want it. I'm gonna turn the mixer on. You can see here that I've mixed them up a little bit, but they're not nearly as creamy as I want them. So I'm just gonna continue to add milk or cream, which I'm using milk today, until I get them to the right consistency. Okay, you can see here, I've got them the way I think that they need to be. I like them nice and creamy, and I don't like them too thick. And sometimes I will go on and dollop even a little bit more butter on top of them and put the lid back on them. And I'm making us some frozen corn over here that's gonna go with our dinner. And I put sugar in it. My mom always puts sugar in her corn no matter what, so I always put sugar in my corn. So there's your little secret. If you think your corn doesn't taste like you want it to, just add you a little bit of sugar to it. Butter and sugar. It'll make it better. I just use frozen corn and Kroger brand, of course. So there is how you make the mashed potatoes. And I'm getting ready to go get the chicken casserole out of the oven, which I videotaped on a separate video. And I used this cooker, this tried and true cooker here. It is the bottom to a pressure cooker. And long story short, we had a house fire back in 1998. And we lost everything we owned. Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, but a lady that we rented it off of after our house fire, before we bought this house, she come and brought me this cooker to my door one day and said she thought I could use a good cooker, because she knew that we had had a house fire. And I said, well, sure, I'll take that cooker. And do you know that we have lived in this house for 24 years? And she gave me this cooker before that. And I use it for everything. I wouldn't take this cooker for any amount of new cookware that you could ever give me. I call it my mashed potato pot, because I always make mashed potatoes in it, and I use it for a lot of other stuff. And it is my most favorite prized possession that I have had. I think she has passed away now, but I sure appreciated my cooker. So never underestimate what you give somebody. Oh, my timer is going off for the oven for my rolls. Sorry about that. Anyways, just a little story about my potato cooker. So I hope you have a good day, and thanks for watching.